what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to my kitchen. It's Fun Friday, and today I thought it would be fun if we tried to make something. But what could that be? What could we make if we were to make anything in this kitchen? Could be a cake, maybe cookies, but they're not very Mr. Martin. What's Mr. Martin? You know. It's pizza. Today we're going to make pizza the Mr. Martin way. So there's a few things we're going to need. First of all, I would highly recommend whenever cooking with flour of any kind, not to wear all black like I am right now. Fortunately, I do have a little apron I can put on. So if you've got an apron at home, then go ahead and throw that on now, because it's useful. And if you don't have an apron, just a tea towel, something like that, just that's helpful to wipe your hands on so you're not getting flour all over your nice clothes. So a few of the things that we're going to need today are: one, a big bowl. It's really useful to have a big bowl because we're going to be mixing a lot of things and we don't want it to go everywhere. Two, you're going to need yourself a rolling pin because we're rolling out pizzas. Now some people do sort of flip it in the air, and we might give that a go today. It's not the way I normally do things, but for comic effect it can always be done. You're going to want a little spoon. Now sometimes I use wooden spoons, but I find that the wood sticks to the dough quite badly, so I'm using a plastic one instead. So if you've got one of those available, use that. Some scissors, just because we need to cut a few things open. And this is my one piece of specialist equipment. This is a little sort of sifter, which I can put flour in and then gets the flour out, nice and sifted. So I think that's all the equipment we need for this. There may be one or two things that I've forgotten, but I'll just remember as we go along. In terms of ingredients, there's not that much either. You're going to need some flour, ideally bread flour, but if you're in a global pandemic like we are, then plain flour might be all you've got right now, and that's okay. You're going to need some yeast. I've got a little packet of yeast here that I'm going to use. You're going to need some cheese, which is still in my fridge. Mozzarella is always a good choice. You can use any cheese, but I find that mozzarella is the best for pizza. So you're going to want some of that. Then you're also going to need some toppings based things. So if you want to put some toppings on there, you might want some pepperonis. I'm not going to put anything on mine. I sometimes just like to have a nice plain cheese pizza. But I do like to alter the base in certain ways. Now not everybody's going to agree with the way that I make my base. The way I make it is very, very simple. I like it, my fiance likes it, so we just stick with it. Basically, the base consists of tomato puree, and that's pretty much it. Now my fiance likes it really simple. She just uses this, a base of tomato puree with the cheese on top, and that's her done. For me, I like to add a little bit more, so I get some spices on there. I might use a bit of paprika from time to time, maybe even a little bit of all-purpose seasoning, or chicken seasoning. I also like to add in some mixed herbs into my dough, just to give it a little bit more of an herby taste. As I say, you might not agree with some of the choices that I make for my pizza, and that's absolutely fine. You don't have to include those in yours. You do it exactly the way that you like it, because it's your pizza and you're going to eat it. Now before we do anything else, we need to do one very important thing, because if we put all of this together and the oven's not on, we ain't got no pizza. So let's turn the oven to 200 degrees or gas mark 6. Now again, a slightly controversial point. I rarely ever measure anything. I like to just go from what I think is right. And there are some recipes out there which will tell you some measurements. Honestly, with using this, if I fill that up to the top, that does 2 pizzas perfectly. So that's all I do. I've never measured how much this is, but I'm pretty sure there are measurements on here actually. It's roughly 250 grams. I'm going to make one pizza today, so I'm probably going to have about half of this. That's about 125 grams, let's say. So I'm going to just fill up that with my flour. Just fill it up to about halfway. There we are. And now here's the fun part. Next I like to add my herbs in there. So just a little bit of herbs and spices, just to add some flavour to that. Next we've got to put our yeast in. So I'm going to cut my yeast open and I'm just going to sprinkle some of that in there. Normally one sachet like this will do 2 pizzas, so I'm just going to use about half a sachet on that. Just going to give it a bit of a stir, just so that it's nice and mixed up together. Also just going to season with some salt and pepper. Because I really like to get that flavour in the dough. As I said, I was bound to forget a few things. One thing I did forget, we need some oil. So, gonna pour a little bit of oil. Olive oil would be best. Just a little bit of oil in there. Just pour it right on top. Just give that a little bit of a shake around, get that oil mixed in with there, and then we're ready to add some water to this. Now again, controversial. I don't measure my water. I found another thing in my kitchen that is the perfect size, so I tend to just use that. I have these absolutely fantastic little clear mugs. They're double layered so that when you put hot drinks in them, you can hold them wherever and they're not hot. And it's made of plastic. It looks like glass, made of plastic. Probably better, I would say. A full one of these will do 2 pizzas for me, so I'm going to use about half. Cooking is a little bit like painting because you can always add to it. Now as you can see here, my dough is very, very runny. I have clearly added way too much water to this. And that's probably because I don't measure, but you know, I'm okay with that because I'm just going to add a little bit more flour. I think if you get too bogged down with all the specifics, you're not going to enjoy yourself. Whereas if you can just move on and take the next best step, do the next right thing, then you're going to be absolutely fine. And that's the same with life as well, I think. Life and cooking. Life is like cooking. And I think we're just about done with that, so I'm going to move this over to a tray. Make sure your tray is lightly covered in flour. Mine's quite heavily covered, but you know, I always like to just have a bit extra on there because I'm probably going to need it at some point. Once you've got it on there, I like to just knead it with my fists a little bit, just get it into a nice shape. Now because I'm using a rectangular tray, this pizza is going to be a rectangle. It's not going to be a circular pizza that you probably are used to. And again, that's okay. It doesn't have to be a normal pizza. It's okay if our pizza's a bit strange. So now we are going to use our roller. Just roll out the shape. I like to do sort of the width first because it means you've got that sorted, and then you can roll that lengthways just to cover your entire tray. This has worked out quite well, I have to say. Normally, sometimes I struggle with this bit. Sometimes it gets all sticky, sometimes the flour there's not enough of it. I mean, truthfully, I've got too much flour. I'm just going to admit that. I'll admit that right now. I've got too much flour on here. But I think I'm alright with it. Okay, it's nice and rolled out into a rectangular shape, and we can start to add our base. So as I said, just going to use the tomato puree base here. Just going to squeeze some of that out onto there. Get a nice amount. Just be a little bit careful as you're laying this out, because if your pizza dough is quite thin, you could accidentally tear it. Now I am being a little bit quick, just because I don't want to take too long on this video. So just take some care with it if you need to. Okay, so as I say, I'm just going to do a little bit of paprika to mine. Just going to have a little bit over the top, just to give it that nice sort of smoky paprika flavour to it that I like a lot. Going to open up our mozzarella, just give it a nice little cut to open it. Open it up there. And honestly, for this bit, it's all about choice. It's as much or as little as you want. As long as you've got a nice even layer, that's all you need. And then you can just put as much on there as you want. Obviously you don't want to put too much on, might take a while to cook, and it might be really, really, really cheesy. But just put as much or as little as you are comfortable with. And that's it. Pizza's done. Didn't take very long, wasn't that difficult, and we're ready to go right into the oven. Once your pizza's in there, you're going to want to leave it for roughly 5 to 10 minutes. That's all it takes. If you've got a fan oven, I tend to find it takes much less time. If you've got a regular oven, it'll probably take about 10 minutes. So I'll see you in 10 minutes. Time to get that pizza out. Nice and crispy in all the right places. So here we have it. A beautiful cheese pizza, all for me. Let's give it a taste. Cut it into a few slices. As I say to my class, I like cutting into more slices. It's more and smaller because it makes me feel like I've got more pizza. Just grab a corner slice there. Now be careful because this will be super hot. Now as you can see, mine's quite floury on the base because, as I said before, I added a little bit too much flour, but that's okay. Let's give it a taste. I gotta go back for one more. Was there ever a finer pizza? I do not believe so. Oh, you guys are still here. You should go. I'm gonna need to eat this on my own. I'll see you next week.